Okay, so let's talk about decorators. Now, I don't have any type of images or cool figures for this video because I really didn't find one that would represent the meaning of a decorator well. But stick with me here, that it will make sense, I swear. Basically, the idea of a decorator is to alter the behavior of objects or enhance functionality of objects or classes without having to change its original code. Now, imagine that you have an application where you can register users, right? So you can go there and register a user, right? Pretty straightforward. And together with that, you also have a third-party service which keeps track of your analytics. So you have a service that runs analytics, and whenever you register a user, you want to tell the analytics service that you have a new user. And together with that, you also want to send some data from the user that is doing that, just so you can keep track of all this stuff, right? Also pretty common. And to do that, we have different types of approaches, but on this video I want to use a decorator because I think this pattern actually fits well with the decorator idea. So let me open my VS Code here and let's get straight to coding. Hey, so I have my VS Code open here, and the first thing that I want to say is that I had to do some hacky stuff to make decorators work with a modern JavaScript environment. And the first thing that you want to know is that I'm using this plugin right here, plugin proposal decorators with the flag legacy true. Basically what I'm saying here is that I want to use decorators on the legacy version, which is the most superior version. The newer one seems to be not really stable. So I'm using this configuration, and also I'm pointing out this configuration on the Vite configuration. Now we have to do that because decorators are a new thing on the JavaScript ecosystem, and since my proposal here on the series of videos is to use vanilla JavaScript, I'm keeping this configuration here. I don't really like it. It looks hacky for me, but anyway, the idea of the video is to actually give you the idea of what a decorator does. But anyway, if you are using TypeScript, you can use the TypeScript experimental decorators here to actually make that process easier. And this is the plugin that I'm using, just to give you as a context. So I have my main JavaScript file here, which has an analytics function. This is actually a decorator. This is how the decorator looks like. But I have already mapped out the user service, and I'm already registering a user. So as you can see here, registering the user and then the name and the age. Now imagine that here, call the analytics service. This may be the most natural approach to doing that, but imagine that after registering the user, you also had another functionality called update user. So you could update the user, and then you also want to call the analytics service. And you could have an infinite amount of functions calling the analytics service, and that you would probably have to repeat the code everywhere. So what the decorator would do is to centralize this and save you time and also flexibility. So what the decorator looks like is a @ notation on top of it, and you would call analytics. That's it. This would automatically bind your function to the analytics service. So basically, if I call now, you can see that this is already calling the decorator. If I console log here, calling the decorator, right? So good stuff. It's calling the decorator. So we're falling here, let's say. We have this code is actually being called. So let me console log target, name, and descriptor, just so you have a notion of what these arguments look like. So the user service is actually the target, which is the context that the function is being called. We also have a name, which is the name of the function, and the descriptor is the function itself, basically, and also some additional configurator. So if I console log a descriptor.value, this is the most important piece because this actually points to the function here. So if I open, yeah, it's showing as a lambda function here, but if I open the decorator, the console log that I have here, you can see that it actually points out to register user. So it's pointing to this guy right here. So this is the function itself. After doing all this stuff that we want to do, we want to call the function again. We want to enhance the function. So we want to enhance the function with the analytics functionality. So what we can actually do is save the original function. So we can do something like original function equals descriptor.value. So now we have the original function. And let me remove all that stuff here. So we can also right now do original, we can do descriptor.value equals, now this will be the enhanced function. So function, we can spread out the args, which are the arguments that we receive. And what we can actually do is, let's fetch all the data that we want to send to the analytics service. So analytics stuff. Basically, we want to, let's say that we want to fetch the language, just as an example, right? So navigator.language, and also if the user has cookies enabled, I don't know, just as an example, as I said, and then the function that is being called. So name, function called, let's say that it's name, which is the function name. So what we will actually send is this analytics stuff. If I console log it, this is what will be sent, the analytics stuff. So function called, register user, cookies enabled, true, language English, and let's say that we also want to function args, and let me supply the args here. Let's see what gets printed out. So you can see that's basically what I'll supply to the analytics service with the language, the cookies enabled, boolean, also the function called, the name of the function, and the arguments that were passed through, which are this one, actually. If I change John to, for example, I don't know, Johnny, you can see that now the arguments are actually Johnny with the age 31. That's it. Now we also want to call the original function, right? We enhanced it and we want to actually return it. So basically, let's call result equals original function. Let's call original function. Let's call apply, supplying the context, which is this, right? Now the context of the function will be the decorator context, basically. This is all I'm saying here. And then let me supply the args, which is an array, right? I spread it out here. And then let's return the result. That's it. That's it. Now we have the function enhanced, right? And then just also to have an example here, console log sending stuff to the analytics service. I will not do the API call and not all this stuff here. It's just to give you an example of what decorators are capable of doing. So we have the analytics stuff, right? Sending stuff to the analytics service, and then the language and all the good stuff that we have. And now, instead of having to call this, right? Because if we did not have the analytics, the decorator, we'll have to do that in everywhere, right? Here and then here, and all the functions that you wanted to enhance. So basically, what we can do now is just call analytics here. So we have analytics on both the functions here, and we can also do something like user service dot update user, and then let's say that we want to update Johnny to have 32 to be 32 years old, right? So if I console log it, you can see that we are updating the user, cookies enabled, function called update user. So that's it. That's what a decorator does. You can see that we enhanced the functionality without having to change the original code. And that's it. That's everything that I had for today. Hope that makes sense, and have a good one.